Okay, welcome back to another episode of Lounge 11 with Femi and Samco, where we love to discuss everything football. We have a packed agenda this week, but before I get started, man, Samco, how are you doing this week?
Doing good. Another week, no complaints. Everything's smooth. So, how you doing?
Everything nice.
Everything
Yeah. No,
nice.
we've been given a very difficult hate watch to the ups as far as football is concerned.
Yeah.
And on a personal note, I think everything's good. I'm trying out a new space, like I told you, here in
Yeah.
LA. There's a library not too far from my place. So for those that are wondering why the background looks different this week, I wanted to check it out. So shout out to, I think it's
Yeah,
called the
looks good.
Pico Library. Yeah, Pico
Yeah.
Library out here in Los Angeles.
Looks good.
But there's plenty that went on this week. So maybe we'll start with the manager merry-go-round that is dominating
Uh-huh.
headlines right now. Not just in the Premier League. I think last week we talked about the changes in the Premier League. Chelsea had lost their manager, United had lost theirs as well. But we all watched the El Clasico, right? The Real Madrid and Barcelona game. I think it was Super Cup. That's what they call it.
Yes, basically the Super Cup. Yeah.
The Super Cup. Barcelona won that game. What is it? 3-2.
3-2.
And shortly after that, we heard the news that Xavi Alonso's very brief reign at Real Madrid had come to an end following that
Yeah.
loss. Madrid described it as mutual, I think, or at least the statement they made was something alluding to that. But, I think it was pretty obvious that he got sacked. But for you, what did you make of that decision? Right, he has one of the best winning percentages for Real Madrid in the short time that has been there. But
Yeah.
they've watched Barcelona pretty much win everything on display from a Spanish standpoint. So where do you think Real Madrid goes from here?
Um, I think it was pretty obvious. If they come out to say it was based on footballing decisions, I think a lot of people can debate that. I'm sure there was some truth to it actually, because he's also had some difficult times and he's been trying to implement some type of systems. But I think there's a little bit more to that story than what a lot of us know. I remember sometime last year, or not actually last year, or it could be, I can't even remember the timeline anymore. I remember there was a lady who came out and she was talking about like what um the energy is like within the Madrid camps in terms of like the nutritionist and stuff like that. A lot of the players, they want them to like eat certain type of food, train some certain way, and a lot of them just didn't apply those new systems I think this was also before Xavi Alonso came in. So I think what is going on at Real Madrid right now is like what most people call it, it's a lot of player power going on. We've heard the likes of Vinicius Junior when he had the problem early on this season, and Xavi Alonso was looking to discipline him in some certain ways, and they said the president was basically siding with the players and all. So I think they're literally going through that type of situation right now at Madrid. I think it was a little bit ridiculous to fire him, especially when you consider the win rate that you just said about 70 something win rate. They're about what, 4 points, 5 points away from Barcelona in the league table. There's still a lot for them to play in the Champions League. Unfortunately, they got out yesterday to the second league division side in their Copa del Rey. That's why I said it's more than the footballing side to it. And it's unfortunate that a legend in their eyes, or I want to believe in their eyes, someone who represented their club very good. He won titles for them, I believe. I think he won the Champions League as well. I can't even remember, but I think he did. But he's definitely like played a big part in Madrid's history, right? He knows what it is to wear that shirt as well and stuff like that. And if the board, or in this case, the likes of Perez, are like sitting with the players, then that tells you that any manager who is coming there is going to have a big problem, because for you to manage those caliber of players, you need someone who's a man manager. I think that's what they need when it comes to these Real Madrid players. They need someone who's a man manager, but they also need to realize that the way football is today, there's a lot of tactical input and tactical awareness that goes into it. If a lot of them just think they could just show up on the pitch and be the world-class players that is some of them think that they are, and just be able to they'll tell you whatever decisions they make is the reason they are Real Madrid. There's not much. I can't really argue much against that. So yeah, how did you see the whole cycle and the statement that they literally came out to say it was mutual?
Yeah, I don't. I found it really interesting in the sense that I don't know that anybody else in that same position with the same conditions, right? So the same players and everything. I'm not sure that you can do much better. I mean, time will tell. We'll see. But I thought Xavi Alonso done a really great job, especially with the egos that are in that club. Um, I think I've said as far back as our Champions League game against them what was it, last season?
Mm-hmm.
We played them last season in the
Last
Champions League,
season,
right?
yeah.
Right. And I said this before the Real Madrid game, or maybe it was after the Liverpool game that we covered here. And I said, if they play a lot of the, what do you call it, tacticals, like the
Mm-hmm.
modern era of football now is like all tacticals, they're going to get very, very exposed and exploited because that front three they're not really built for that team game from what I've seen just watching from the outside. I'm talking about Mbappe, Vinicius, and I think Rodrigo is the one that completes their front three right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, we saw that right in the games against Arsenal last season. We saw that in the games against Liverpool this season. And obviously we've seen that in multiple games against Barcelona. So I think that's just what it's going to be until they figure out what they want to do with, all three of those guys. I don't
yeah,
think you can accommodate all three of them today in the modern game if they are not willing to concede parts of their game, right, for the betterment of the team. So I think Xavi Alonso will land somewhere eventually. He has
yeah.
shown himself to be a very, very good manager. Hopefully he finds the right opportunity for him somewhere else. Yeah, that's really it. Wish him all the best.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Wish them all the best.
Right. But obviously brings into light I call it the manager roulette, right? We've been saying that since
Mm,
last week. But what do you think is causing this roulette everywhere in 2026? We started the year. We've seen hooks at Chelsea with Maresca. United have fired Amorim, and now
mm,
Madrid. So these are three high profile jobs that
yeah,
they've lost their managers.
yeah.
Obviously, sky high expectations, a lot of big spending, injury crisis, whatever the case might be. What do you think is driving a lot of these changes?
I think it's a combination of everything, you know. When you look at a lot of money that has been spent in football these days, especially the bigger clubs. I mean, when you invest so much money, everybody wants that return on investment, right? You also have to factor in the fans. The fans have so much high expectations, especially the ones for the big clubs again. And I think there's just no more patience like it used to be when you look back in the days of how football used to be. So now everyone just wants that instant result, right? Everyone is just about, okay, we've spent this money, we've done this, we need to get this. Like, think about it when you just bring Xavi Alonso back into it. This is a guy that you said had over 70% win rate. We're just what, 6 months into the season and you're firing him. So that's why I said I think his own doesn't really have to do with the footballing reasons. When you look at that of Manchester United, let's be truthful, I still don't think he was sacked because of footballing reasons. But if they want to make the argument it was because of footballing reasons, they can definitely make the argument. That of Chelsea, same thing. So I think there's just so many factors that contribute to it. I think fans are a little bit less patient. Clubs want a lot of return on investment based on what they've invested in terms of like transfers and trying to sustain the club. So I think there's a lot of, you also have to add the media as well. I think the media also adds to it in terms of like social media and stuff like that. So I think now everybody just thinks, or they all feel a little bit entitled to success, and everyone is just going to keep getting humbled as the time goes on because you can't just be entitled to success. You have to work to get it. And no matter how much you try to cheat the game, it's just not going to happen. Because if you think about it, everyone has money now. A lot of the big clubs have money. They're spending, they're investing, they're getting the big managers, but somehow they're still not getting it right, which means there's a process that everyone needs to go through and get this job done. Are you willing to do it? That's the big question. So I think it's a combination of a lot.
You mentioned you brought Manchester United into focus, so maybe that's a good place for us to start today as as we unpack things. They've made a change, as you've called out. They brought in, I think was it Fletcher? Fletcher was
Yeah,
the
yeah, they
the
brought
two
in
game
Fletcher for a
manager.
few games. Yeah.
And so he managed the game against Brighton over the weekend, where they lost 2-1 in the FA Cup third round at home to Brighton. Um, they're out of the FA Cup now, right? We'll talk about the appointment of Carrick shortly, but that now means that Manchester United, following the results this season, would be playing their lowest number of games since, what is it, 1915 or something
1915 or
crazy like
something like
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone out at the first stage of the Carabao. They've gone out at the first stage that they could have of the FA Cup. You made this point earlier in the season when you were making the case that United was not a big squad, sorry, a big team anymore. And you had specifically referenced the FA Cup, later in the season, that the only reason they still have a chance is because they're still in the FA Cup. Now they're out of that at the first attempt, right?
Yeah.
So how do we even put all that in perspective from a United standpoint?
I think we're getting to the point now where it's very much difficult to almost pinpoint again what exactly the problem is at Manchester United, right? Like when I made that
Right.
statement, I think a lot of people were thinking I was just like talking down on them. And I said, no, you have to look at, yes, they're a big club based on history, right? But when you look at, in terms of the competitive aspect of what it is to be a big club or how big clubs are saying these days, they don't meet those metrics, right? When I remember when they went down to Grimsby and I said, it's August and you're already out of a competition where most of the big clubs had not even gotten into the competition and Manchester United were already out, right? You've had basically half the season now, you've been playing one game a week and all that. And still, you're still struggling. Now, a new competition came in, first round, FA Cup at Old Trafford. You have been kicked out again. So that's why I say competitive metrics, they don't meet those numbers for me, or how I look at them and say, oh, you're still a big club and all like that. Now, let's look at the managerial situation with them. Last week, we were hearing Ole. Now it's Carrick, right? So what that screams to me again is you definitely did not have a plan when you fired Amorim. Like I said last week, I don't think he was fired because of results. I think it was due to other things that he was fired, right? Now you've brought in Carrick to the end of the season. Some people might say, okay, if Carrick gives you good results, right? For example, let's say he gets them top 4. Do you keep him? A lot of people will say no, we have to get him. But it's easy to say no now compared to when that actually happens. Because we've seen that before, right? It's so easy for you to say no now. But then again, if it happens, you're going to get the 50-50 and people are going to say, yes, he should get the job, right? But then again, when you look at this Manchester United, they don't have a lot of good players and they've not had a lot of good managers lately, right?
Right.
So you have the board who's in disarray. You have the manager situation that is never clear. A lot of fans don't know where they're going to go. If you ask fans, who do you think is the best fit for Manchester United? A lot of them don't even know because, like I said, Manchester United seem to be a club that have a plan, but they just fail to implement that plan or follow through with that plan. So I really do not know what's the only name I've seen so far in terms of the managerial situation that I'm just like, okay, I can see that working. The only way that will work again is if they follow through with their plan. They stick by him and they back him, and that's Nagelsmann. That's the only person I can see. There's a lot of people that keep talking about this Luis Enrique situation. And I'm like, again, you keep looking so high and thinking that that's the why are you looking at a Luis Enrique? What? Because he's a good manager? Yes. What? Because he just won the Champions League with PSG, or he's won the league, or he's won the treble? Like you don't even have that foundation to have that type of manager to do the things you want to do, right? I had one of our friends tell us like 3-4 players away from Manchester United and they'll be better than what they are. And I'm like, this is the mistake you guys keep making, thinking you're 2, 3, 4 players away. You need to strip everything down and start from the beginning. So I really don't know where they go from there, but interesting appointment from them in terms of Carrick. In my opinion, I said it in one of our group chats. Now you're out of every competition. We're still in January. I don't see why Manchester United should, to me, finishing outside the top 4 should be a failure for them, in my humble opinion, because now you have no other competition you're playing with. There are some weeks you're going to have 2 weeks off. You guys really don't have the injury. So since I have been the bad person trying to talk down on Manchester United, let me give you the expectations of the Manchester United that a lot of you really think that you are. Then go out there and finish top 4.
Yeah, it's not out of reach completely, but then it seems infeasible because you think about the top 2 would seem to be set in stone one way or the other. It's probably going to be Arsenal, City, Arsenal. Villa is there. We talked about this last week. And then Liverpool, they're in a bit of a resurgence, right? They've not lost in, I think, 9 games or something like that. Make a case for Manchester United breaking through beyond.
I can't help. I can't make a case for them. But when I say
but you're also expecting the top 4.
Because when I say it's like I'm just chatting a lot of rubbish, right? So now you guys still feel you're still that club. So guess what? Now I'm going to put those expectations on you guys. Let me see how you guys, because you have nothing. You have no injuries. You have one competition now left for the rest of the season. If you ask a lot of them, they'll tell you they're 3 or how many points away are they from the top 4. That is still doable. So go ahead and do it, right? Whatever I believe is of no importance anymore. So they should go out there and do it, because a lot of them had these expectations that said they can make it in Europe. Yes, I can see them making it in Europe. But this time we have 3 stages of Europe. We have the Champions League, you have the Europa League, you have the Conference League. I never thought the Champions League was possible for them. There's a possibility Europa League was possible for them. Conference League is very possible for them. But where they find themselves now, they should go for the top 4. Those are the expectations we're not going to put for them, so that when and if you do not make it, again, I don't believe they are going to make it. But since I'm the one saying rubbish, then they should go for it. Go make top 4.
I have a couple more questions before we move on from United. The summer signings, right? Last season, what was generally discussed was that they struggled for goals. And in fact, they shipped out Højlund on loan to Napoli, and they brought, 3 new players in that forward line, 2 of which were top 10 scorers in the league last season in Mbeumo and
top 10?
Sesko. Sorry,
weren't they top 5?
Yeah. No, I think they were
in the league?
Top 10 in the league.
Really?
Yeah, 2 of them were top 10.
I thought they were top 5.
Might have been higher. Who was top 5? Salah.
I think Mbeumo was in top 5 for sure. I can't remember.
But I'm saying
numbers.
Collectively, both of them were in the top 10.
Right? Okay, yes.
Yeah, so you bring in 2 of the top 10 scorers from last season, right? And then you bring in Sesko. You spend over 200 million in addressing those concerns. What do you make of their performances so far? How do you evaluate Sesko, Konya? I know I started the Konya agenda, and I've seen a lot of people kind of start to pick on Konya.
If we're being honest, I don't think any of them have lived up to expectations. The best out of the park would definitely be Mbeumo, right? But then again, you also have to look at it like, these are guys that hit double digit. I think Mbeumo was almost at 20 goals. That's if he didn't hit 20 goals last season in the Prem, right? And again, I remember saying this to a few Manchester United fans when they brought in Mbeumo and Konya. And they said to me, like, wow, like, how are these guys going to hit these numbers in Brentford and Wolves? And you think they can't do that in Manchester United? And I said, because they're playing for Manchester United. Playing Manchester United is going to be different. They're not going to have as much space as they did at Brentford or at Wolves and stuff like that, right? I'm someone who reads Sesko. So I think there's still room for each and every one of them to improve. Cunha, I think, is a good player, but I just don't think he's a player that a lot of them think that he is. Mbeumo is a very, very good player. So I think Mbeumo, out of all of them, I think Mbeumo is going to be the one to be the best. And Sesko, just for his age and everything, I think he still has some room to grow. But in terms of like money spent and expectations, I don't think any of them can come out and say they've met those expectations or they're doing well, right? And you can put that across the league because we're going to have to make it uniform. You're not going to come from one person and say this person has been trash or it's been a flop and everything. And you look at those three players and you look at the money that was spent on them and everything. So whichever way anybody wants to look at it, I guess that's how to look at it. What's been your evaluation for three of them?
Burma's definitely been my favorite player. I think he, like you've called out, probably is the one that can outperform or meet expectations, I would say, because it's kind of hard to outperform expectations when you're looking at one of the poorest. I don't even think it's the poorest. It's just that they're out of everything. They could actually finish much higher than they did in some of the previous seasons. But given what they were brought in to do, I think you can say that, the fact that they're going to look at, we're in January now, and they're only looking at one game a week for the rest of the season is really interesting. But that aside, I think Cunha, as you know, in my mind, definitely underperforming. I was actually really surprised when he posted something in our group chat today that showed that he has scored 4 league goals. I wasn't quite sure where those goals came from, but
No
clearly he has
majority
scored
came in
them.
December.
Yeah, so he's done well
Yeah.
for himself in that case, but I think he's the one that most people can look at and be like, you need to do a lot better. Sesko, I'm sure he can also look back and, want to claw back at some of the numbers there. Not being as great, but also not the worst return. But given the amount of money and the expectations that came with that, I think they can look at that as a fair bit of disappointment. I think that with the Bruno firing on all cylinders, because I keep hearing that Bruno is an elite chance creator. So I think with a new manager, new system that hopefully frees up the players a little bit more, from the back three to more front-footed play, I think they could start firing on all cylinders again.
Do you think anything changes with them, with Carrick, between now and end of the season?
I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of Carrick. I don't even know what kind of manager he is, right? But if there's anything you keep hearing about this Manchester United DNA, I don't think they will be great. I think they will play a lot more freely, right? And already Manchester United are one of the top scorers in the league, so I expect goals. I just expect them to concede just as much, right? Because I don't know if Carrick is that guy that can, reshape things sufficiently enough for them to be defensively sound. But I think you will see freedom in the way they play from an attacking standpoint, or a lot more fluidity from an attacking standpoint. So with that in mind, I won't be surprised if they actually get fired.
So where did you have, like in terms of predictions, where did you have them beginning of the season? And has anything changed for
No,
those
no,
predictions?
nothing has changed for me outside. Like, because I think I had them definitely outside of the top six. I think there might have been
I
a,
think I had them
uh,
seventh. I can't remember. Sixth
yeah,
or seventh.
definitely. Yeah, I had two, two bets going one of our guys, I think. I know I had them outside the top six for sure. I'm not sure about
Okay.
the top eight. I have to go back and check.
Yeah, I
So
didn't have
outside the
them
top
outside top
six
eight. Yeah.
felt par for the course, right? If you finished, 14th, 15th last season,
Yeah.
I would have to convince myself that there are only 3 or 4 teams better than you going into the next summer for you to finish fourth or fifth. And I just couldn't do that, just objectively speaking, not even out of hate or anything. But six I thought was achievable, right? Like there are some teams there and about that you would expect them to catch up with or perform better than. And they're trending in that direction. So I think they'll end up somewhere around there, sixth or seventh.
Okay. One last
And
thing I
from a
was going to
United
ask.
standpoint, I think that would be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing I was going to ask, because the other day I was just looking through since Fergie left. Why is it that every time they sack a manager, they always go from one of their old players to be an interim manager?
You know,
Except for when
that's
they did, what's his name? The guy that told them to tear everything down, but they chased him
a
away.
Ragnick.
Ragnick, yeah.
I cut some slack on one of our previous episodes, our Dirty December episode, when I said that, one of my gripes, or one of the gripes I have against Sir Alex Ferguson is that there's not a big successful tree of managers. And we're seeing that, right? I think one thing that United fans need to be careful about, and I think this is also tied to the fact that they have a lot of ex-players now in the media, so it creates this expectations. This United DNA thing that we keep hearing about, we are going to need to, they, not us, they are going to really need to re-examine themselves as to what that means. I think they're searching for past glory where it doesn't actually exist anymore. That's the reason I think is driving a lot of this like decisions. Yeah. Because on one hand, I hear that United is capable. I sent that to you, the overlap episode or something where, was it Paul Scholes? I said, go and get whoever you want.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's not the case. You can't go and get whoever you want because we know who the last few managers of United have been, and they've not been like the top tier of top tier managers that they are. So I think you're really forced to find yourself in a position where it's not the most attractive job for the top coaches, but then you still need a coach. So you bring in people who are more than willing to take that on. You saw the reports that Solskjaer was effectively asking for the job, right? Solskjaer is not sitting around right now with multiple calls of people looking for him. Same thing with Carrick. Carrick was without a job for a reason, right? I don't think it was. I think the last we heard of Carrick was manager at Middlesbrough. So I think that's where you find the people willing and able to take on a job like that at this time. Joining a team like United in the middle of the season is not really preferable for a lot of top managers.
So do you think, because I heard or I know a lot of the managers you're going to have this summer, so a lot of big managers are going to be available. They're out of contract and stuff like that. So do you think that is what Manchester United are waiting for? Because one thing I ask myself, okay, yes, you go for a caretaker manager. If there's really a manager they want out there and they believe they can go get them, why don't you just go get the manager now? Because there's nothing for you to play for the rest of the season, right? And you might as well just bring in a manager that you know, okay, this is just the same way they did with Amorim, right? But at least you know you have a plan and stuff like that. So is it that what you're saying is outside the job not being as attractive, or do you think they're waiting to see their options that they will have in the summer?
It's probably a bit of that, and it's to be fair, it's a smart move to kind of play it out and see, who becomes available. But it's not without its own risk because there are other teams that will be in the hunt for a manager as well. And I actually I strongly believe United are down the pecking order in terms of, if they're able to get the top tier managers. So I think from a United standpoint, it's a smart thing to do to kind of wait it out. I also think that they're also handicapped. They can't really go out there and get the manager that they think they want. Right? For example, you hear we're in the same groups. You've heard people say Enrique. There is no offer in the world you're putting on the table today. And maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. But I don't think there's an offer in the world you put on the table that makes Enrique leave PSG middle of the season. So you're going to have to wait. What other names are you hearing? Anybody that's in a job right now, there is nothing that makes them leave that job because clearly you want something better than what you have today. And those guys are probably in better situations. Yeah. So I don't think they leave where they are for United. So they have to wait. It's actually the smart thing to do. And it's probably the only card that they can play. So it kind of makes sense.
Fair. I hear you.
Yeah, but I mean, I wanted to get your own thoughts on, this United DNA because I just don't get it. Like I keep hearing it, I don't understand it. I think it's dangerous for the club actually.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm of the same opinion. And I think when they use that phrase, the United DNA, I think they say trying to put in that connection between where they are now and the glory days. I think that is what they mean when they say DNA because like you said, when you ask yourself, what's the Manchester United DNA? I bet you if you ask 4 or 5 United fans, one thing all of them will say is, when they were winning, right? That's the only thing that makes sense to me because when you say DNA, are you talking about, to me, DNA means like your style of play, the culture in the club and stuff like that, like how things are like, or how the club is perceived and all, right? But if you look at it since Fergie left, they've gone all different routes in terms of managers, players, director of footballs, even down to ownership and everything. They've gone so many different routes. So I don't think anybody can come out and pinpoint what exactly that DNA is. So for me, when they make the statement of the United DNA, I think they're still trying to link their present self to the glory days of Manchester United, which is fair, which is understandable. But you also need to understand that you are not that Manchester United of before. There's so much room for them to create something else now, right? Like when you look at a lot of clubs, like they are great. We see the big clubs for a reason, right? Because a lot of them, they have history, and that history has to do with winning and whatnot, right? But if you look at those winnings, it was basically in, how do I put it? I don't want to use phrases like different times, right? So since Fergie left, you guys have not been in that. When you look at Barcelona, there were times Barcelona were not winning, but there were also times like they were literally winning. And then Real Madrid came into it, and now they are coming back into the Barcelona situation, right? Same thing with PSG, Bayern Munich. You're seeing Inter Milan now, they are getting their ways back. Napoli is getting their ways back. Man City was once a much smaller club than they are now, and look at where they are. Same thing with Chelsea. So I think Manchester United just have to figure out how to cultivate a new Manchester United. Like nothing is going to change, right? The name still remains the same. You're just going to create new history or new success or whichever way they
Right.
want to look at it. But if they keep tying themselves back to the Manchester United of old, in my opinion, I don't think they will be that Manchester United again, right? Because you're talking about treble winners, 18 league champions under Ferguson, and what is it, 2 Champions League that he won or stuff like that. That is that time. Now create a second time for Manchester United and move forward with it. So that'll be it for me.
Yeah, we'll just leave that there. So we jump into some of the other topics. We try, so we don't make this the Manchester United episode or whatever, right?
They'll come for you.
Well, I mean, we're just doing our job here, so let's move on to Chelsea, because you talked about teams coming into it, right? So they've recently hired a new manager. I call him the TED Talker.
Yeah.
Rosenoir, Liam Rosenoir. I think he's gotten off to a very fast start. It felt for a while there that every time I open social media, Twitter or Instagram, there is a new comment, a new video of him talking. But ultimately, he had 2 games to manage. One was the FA Cup game, which I think they won comfortably, and then the second was his first real test against Arsenal at the what we call internally the Blue Emirates.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much you can really make of the first game because it was against lower league opposition where you'd expect them to win. So maybe we'll just kind of focus more on that FA Cup game and what you made of that. Sorry, the Carabao Cup game semifinal.
I think that game is going to be a little unfair to judge him based on that game, right? Because I look at it like the very first game, maybe he tried to, get the guys together and look. I think there are certain things he was looking to see in that game. I don't know if he saw those in that game and whatnot. Some people can make all types of arguments about what players were available and what wasn't available. But I think it's a little bit too early to judge him on that. But when it comes to Liam, I think it's tough because if you remember the last episode, I think I said it's a little bit unfair what these Blue Coal guys are doing, because I think they're just putting him out there for the Wolves to just eat him up, right? And he's in a situation where now I think he's also going to want to try to prove himself. And he's going to be in a very tight situation. Remember I said he's coming at the crunch time of the season where he's playing every 3 days. Like, he had the FA Cup, good for him, he got a result. First leg of the semi-final in the Carabao Cup, he lost that game, right? The next thing, he's going to be playing Champions League. The Champions League situation is not clear yet. Are they going to finish in the top 8 or not? Nobody knows. And then he's going to be playing in the Premier again every 3 days, having to bring those players together, figure out who his best 11 is, what kind of style of football he's going to want to play. So I think I just feel bad for him because when you listen to him, I think he he has an idea. Not that he has an idea. He knows what he's saying. He seems to be very knowledgeable when it comes to the game, right? But sometimes I also feel like he gives away too much. And when you're talking about managers in the Premier League, one thing you need to know how to do is you need to know how to communicate. Not just communicate with your players, but communicate with the media. Like that is a very big task in terms of handling one of the big clubs in England, right? So we are yet to see what kind of manager he is. I don't know what to expect from him. When I looked at how they played the game against Arsenal, I don't want to say they were a little bit naive at times, because if there's one thing you know about Arsenal is we're a very good pressing team. And I noticed one thing I noticed, like he tried to always play from the back a lot. I think there were 1 to 3 occasions you could see they played the ball long. So that tells me that, okay, this is a manager that would like to implement his own style. And that's why I said I see him as someone that is trying to prove a point. But you also need to understand, managing a club like Chelsea, certain type of expectations that, yes, the faithfuls might be a little bit patient with you for now, but that thing can switch in a heartbeat. And he doesn't really have anything, in my opinion, to hold on to, right? Because you're coming in at the middle of the season. Again, like I said, crunch time, so many games, so many competitions. And this is just such a massive job. When you look at the last 3 managers that have come before him, talking about Tuchel, Pochettino, and now Maresca, all 3 of them were very good managers. And look at where they ended up. Now you're bringing someone he's coached in England, he was coaching in France, but bringing him in this type of situation, I just feel is unfair. I don't know why I just feel it's unfair, but it's an opportunity I'm sure he definitely couldn't say no to. He's wearing the big boy pants now, so it's time to act like.
Yeah, I don't know about unfair because, like you said, I don't think there are too many people in his position that you call and offer the Chelsea job that they
And they'll
say
say
no.
no. Yeah.
Right. So from his standpoint, he's living out his dream, right? Like this is
Yeah.
an opportunity that was too good to turn down. But for the rest of us, what I'll say is this: I don't think anybody will be surprised if we're sitting here at the start of next season and Rosenoir is not the manager of Chelsea anymore.
1,000%. Yeah.
Right.
I
And so
will
that
not be
tells you
surprised.
everything about the
Yeah.
expectations that come with it. It's almost like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
You're doing all this talking, but it's like maybe you're the only one that doesn't know what comes with being in the Chelsea job, because the rest of us, fans, observers, even ops or whatever, we're all looking here like, dude, if you get the axe, nobody's going to be looking
No
and
one's going to
saying,
be
oh
shocked.
my
Yeah.
God, they fired him, right?
Yeah.
And that just tells you everything you need to know. I think he's gotten off to a decent start. He's trying to warm himself up to the fans and the media. Maybe that helps, but ultimately results are what's going to keep you here. And
Yeah.
once the honeymoon season wears off, we're going to want to see those results. You see that with Thomas Frank already in Spurs, a much smaller club with much smaller ambitions, but
Yeah.
even the fans that wanted him and clamored for were happy when they got him, are already asking for him to go
Yeah.
because results haven't met the expectations. So Chelsea, I think, will be no different, given that he's coming in to take over a manager that was apparently or evidently pretty good in the time that he was there. So the standards have been set at Chelsea.
Yeah.
He's going to have to meet or exceed that for him to be successful. Anything short of that, I think, will be considered a failure, and won't be surprised to see him go. I wish
Yeah.
him all the best, except of course the days that he's playing Arsenal. I
Yeah.
still don't think they're making top 4, and I actually don't think they're winning anything this season.
Um, these are the reasons why I say it's unfair, because, like you said, you will not be shocked at the end of the season and beginning of next season if he's not the manager, right? Because I think he's been put in a very crazy situation, and a lot of expectation comes with that. Yes, he wouldn't. No manager in the situation would say no, but may I also look at it as he works for the blue core already, right? So it just looks like someone who's managing one department. Your boss is telling you, go to this other department and go manage it, right? Yes, you're going to look at it as a promotion and everything, but there's a lot much more that comes to this Chelsea department compared to that of Strasbourg, right? And I've always been of the belief that managers need time, fans need to be patient, clubs need to go through the process to get back to where it is they want to go to. So that's why I look at it and I say it's a little bit unfair to him because I know he's not going to get that time. So
Okay, well, time will tell, and we'll see, how things progress over at Chelsea. We'll turn our attention to the other team that they played, Arsenal. I joked on our banter call on Sunday that Arsenal were playing at home, and you've called that stadium, Stamford Bridge, the Blue Emirates.
yeah, it's a Blue
um,
Emirates now.
it felt, it felt very comfortable at times, to be fair, but the
Yeah.
results, I don't think the result tells a complete story. 3-2 win to Arsenal.
Mm,
I think a lot of Arsenal fans can probably feel disappointed to only walk away from there with a 1-goal lead going into the second leg at the headquarters
yeah.
in Emirates. But walk us through your thoughts on that particular game.
First of all, I don't know why fans should be disappointed, right? I can understand based on how the game went, a lot of people would have expected to like maybe go out with a 3-1, 4-1, 4-2 or something, right? But the question I'll ask those people is at the beginning of the game before a ball was kicked, if you were given 1-0 to take home, would you take that result? People need to understand we went to Chelsea, we went to Stamford Bridge. Well, one of my predictions was it was going to be a draw because a lot of games we've played there has been very tight, regardless of the players on the pitch and stuff like that, right? There were times when Chelsea were way better than us and we went there with the Nketiahs and Emmy Smith-Rose and Saka when they were still much younger, we got a result, right? This is London Derby, is a difficult game. You're going to formerly known as Stamford Bridge. Like, this game is definitely going to be extremely tough, right? So in terms of the disappointment, unfortunately, I wasn't disappointed. I was very happy to come out with 3 goals at Stamford Bridge and 1 goal advantage because now I know we're going to the Emirates to play. That's a ground that we've done very well this season. We haven't lost any game in all competitions there this season. We've drawn only 2 games against Liverpool and Man City. So even if Chelsea come to the Emirates and get a draw, we still go through, right? So now it's up to them to come out to actually come at us and play and win, right? So when people say disappointed, I'm sorry, I just don't agree with that, right? Whether you like it or not, these clubs are big clubs for a reason. You are going to their house or their home ground where usually the home team is meant to have that advantage, right? So I don't see it as a disappointment. I'm sure if you ask Chelsea fans, if we gave them 3-2 in favor of Chelsea before the game started, would they take it? They would definitely take it because now they are coming to the Emirates with an advantage. So the case is just reversed. We're the one going home with a 1-0 advantage. In terms of the game, I think it was a very good game. I think we played very well. We had very sloppy moments and times like our concentration was just not there. And I felt that was how they scored their own goals and all that. There was there was literally nothing I had to complain about that game. I really did enjoy the game. Yes, games that come with a lot of goals are much enjoyable, and that was the situation we had yesterday. But I think we played well, and I think the home leg at the Emirates, I don't think we'll have this much less concentration than like we had at the Blue Emirates. So for me, good performance, a goal advantage. We're going back to the Emirates. Now we'll forget about them and we'll focus on the league. How was it for you?
Well, I was disappointed. I could tell you that much.
Yeah.
And I think disappointment obviously is very tied to expectations.
Mm-hmm.
My prediction going into the game was a 2-0 win for Arsenal. I think that was my banter prediction. I
Yeah.
didn't submit my prediction, unfortunately, but that was my
Oh, okay.
prediction.
It's
Yeah, I
funny
wanted
that
it
prediction.
because
I think I submitted. Is it 3-1?
really,
I think that's what I did. Yeah, before the game started.
I think because I turned it on late, I wanted everybody else to get a chance to submit first, so it doesn't look like I gave myself an advantage. But then I just I forgot
Forgot
to
about
submit
it.
it.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Right. So I predicted a 2-0 win on our call, and that's what I was going to submit if I had the chance to do that.
No.
It's not a disrespect to Chelsea. I know it's been a few draws in the last, but we just haven't lost to them in 9 attempts. And if there was ever a time to make a statement,
Yeah.
it would have been this game, right? Going into a situation where there's a new manager, he's unsure of who the players he can trust and rely on are. especially against a team well oiled like Arsenal that they know they have a clear identity. We made 10 changes for the post-month game, so that means a lot of key players were coming back in. I fully expected to go there and make a statement. And it was shaping up to be that. It was 2-0 at first, then Garnacho, when it was 2-0, I was like, yeah, I kind of knew this. And then Garnacho scored, and then we went up 3-1. Honestly, I thought the game was done then. So it's disappointing, given the kind of team that we are, to concede 2 goals at the Blue Emirates was very disappointing. But like you said, you put things back in perspective quickly. That's what I try to do at least. You kind of take a step back and be like 3-2 away or at home, like I've called it, to Chelsea is not the worst result in the world, especially now that we're taking them back to the Emirates. But yeah, I thought they were really good. Actually, I thought I really liked Esteval. I think I saw him up close for maybe the second time or so, and I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed watching him play. I think he has a bright future.
Yeah.
Couple of things from that game. I would start with Gyokores, who got a goal, and then obviously Odegaard. But let's start with Gyokores.
Yeah.
Broke his barren run with what was in effect a tap-in far post for him. People are making some discussions online about the celebration and reaction to Saka. Did you see that?
Yeah, so but then again, you need to also realize people are always going to make up all kinds of
Find
stories.
something.
Yeah, they're always
Right.
going to. I didn't see anything in the celebration, if I'm being honest. I think he had a very, very good game. Actually, I think he was much more.
He was man of the
involved.
match.
Oh, really? I didn't even know.
I was surprised to see
really?
that because Arsenal posted a
wow.
selfie of him on the official
I
channel.
wouldn't even have given him man of the match, but
I was like, when I saw it, I was surprised. I was like, because
Yeah, I
Arsenal
was-
posted it on
yeah, I had
Instagram. I was
no
like,
idea.
oh, player of the match.
but he
Interesting.
really did play well. That's
I mean, he
that
had
one
a
I
goal and
can't argue it.
assist. So
No, even outside the goal and assist, because I think he was much more involved. What most people want from him, I think I saw him did that. You know, the way he's coming up to
yes,
do the link on
yes.
play. Yeah, I saw him do more of that this game than a lot of games I have seen, right? So I think I was happy for him that he got not compensated, or he got rewarded for the fact that he was able to get an assist and a goal and all that. But I think he had a very, very good game and all that. In terms of the goal, I think a lot of people have seen a lot of the videos that have been going around, which is frustration when that's for the goal that he scored when Saka brought the ball back and everything. And it was funny when I saw them talking about it on Sky Sport this morning. I was like, wow, it's funny. This was the same thing I said some weeks ago. And a lot of people were just looking for a way to like either drag him down or say he's not this much of a player and everything. I said it like, he's one of those players I pay attention to. A lot of the players I pay attention to where Arsenal play, to be honest, are actually the players we signed this season. In my opinion, I thought Zubimendi was the man of the match, right? Because I thought he was just flawless the entire game. And again, got rewarded with a goal and stuff like that. But there are a lot of times I see Gyokores when he plays with our wingers, with Trossard and Saka and stuff like that. And I've mentioned it to you that I've seen him frustrated. Like I've noticed his frustration when he makes that run expecting that ball to come in at the first time or the first play and it doesn't really happen. But to be honest, what I liked about that goal was Ben White, actually. You know, I'm a very big Ben White fan, right? Like you saw the way he just put the ball right there in the box. Yes, the keeper's covered it and all that, but there's something a little bit different about Ben White when he plays right back for us compared to Timber. I think Ben White has that delivery in crosses, low crosses and everything.
So
exactly. So that's the one thing that I always really appreciated about Ben White, that I think he's much stronger than Timber in, right? If you remember the goal we played against, was it Brentford, or the game we played against Brentford, Marino's goal, when Ben White put in the cross and Marino came out of nowhere and just nodded the ball down into the net. So that's what I like in my fullbacks. And that's one of the reasons I've really, really liked Ben White. But he too was another guy that had a very solid game. So all in all, I hope this gives him a little bit of confidence boost, or just that boost to like keep going and just trusting his teammates, trying to adjust to his teammates as well and play better, because his success is our success. That's the way I say it, right? So if he's playing better, if his scoring goes, is to our benefit. I will call out players when they are not playing well or anything. There are certain players, I see what they bring, I see how they play. Like I said, everyone sees the game differently. But I'm just not one of those people that is knee-jerk and just go like, oh, this player is this way. Like I've come out, I've said it, I don't think it suits how we play. Last episode, I said I think Miko should have him on the bench and everything, and just bring people that suits your system and all that, right? But then again, if there's one thing I said I've liked about Gyokores even before he came to Arsenal, is his mentality. I think he's someone that is mentally very strong. So for him to come up with that kind of performance, especially after the Liverpool game, I think I loved how he reacted to the scrutiny that came to it, deservedly so, after the Liverpool game.
Yeah, well, I want to see more of that, obviously, from him. You know, I think what I would like to see is a lot more personality. I've accused Cunha on the Manchester United side. The name I gave him was happy to be here. And I don't want to see happy to be here behavior in my team. You were brought in for a specific reason, and it's to be a killer and to score goals, right? So I don't want you playing with your head down. I don't, want you accepting some of the comments that people were saying online. I want you to show up, even if that means holding your teammates a little bit more accountable. If you've made a few runs, nobody looks for you. Be there. You're the leading striker for this team. That's what you've been brought in to do.
Yeah.
Get more involved, get in people's faces if you have to. So hopefully that's the beginning of something positive for him as he starts to trend up. Like you said, his success is our success. So I wish him all the best in an Arsenal shirts. But you talked about calling players out, and I was really surprised when you texted me today saying Odegaard is starting to get on your nerves or whatever the case might be. Obviously, where I have been as far as Odegaard is concerned. What triggered that for you today?
I think the main thing for me was a couple of games now, and I look at, just for the fact he's a captain, and I see the respect a lot of the players have for Odegaard. I see the way Mikel speaks about Odegaard and stuff like that, right? And his last few games, and I've literally just said to myself that as a senior player, as someone who I know when you're playing for us now, we have a little bit of control. But I have more expectations from you. And one of the expectations I had from him was, when certain things are not working on the pitch, I want to believe you're one of those players who you should be confident enough to almost want to take things into your own hands and try things a little bit different, right? Because Odegaard, I've seen him when he plays for Norway, right? When he plays with what's his name, the Nusa guy, with with Haaland and stuff. And I see how much of a direct player he is. I see how he sees players when they make their run, he plays that ball, right? I've always said, like, I believe Arsenal is so programmed that we do certain things in certain ways. And it pisses me off a little bit when I like players that also take risk. It's one of the reasons why I loved when we brought Eze into the team, because there are certain things that I expect some players to do, right? There are times I will see Gyokores make a run, or Trossard make a run, or Timber make a run, and I'm expecting Odegaard to just hit that ball immediately. And I notice he takes that safe pass, right? Before, he didn't used to be like that. He's someone who needs to take that risk and everything. And all of a sudden, I don't seem to see that a lot in his game when he has an Arsenal shirt on. So that's where I was getting my frustration, right? We always talk about the Man City game when Martinelli scored, and I said, imagine Odegaard was the one with the ball instead of Eze. Odegaard doesn't do that. I can't even remember the last time I saw Odegaard throw that kind of pass to anybody. Most of the balls, he wants to put it on the floor, but you saw Eze, he literally just put it over the defense. So there've been a few situations I've seen like that in our last few games, and I expect Odegaard to just make those direct passes, and all he does is just make that 5 yards, move it to the left, or brings it to Zubimendi, or brings it, and I'm just like, okay, I'm getting really, really tired of this, because I know you are way better than this, right? Like, when you show me something as a player, I hold you to that because that tells me that you know how to do it. I'm not even asking you for goals, right? I'm not asking you for goals because you've already shown us that you could score goals. You've hit a 15 goal season before. And I think, was it 10 assists or something, right? So I need that Odegaard back. I need that guy who is willing to take risks. You're trying to win a title, right? Like, think about the times when players like KDB, who were the captain of Manchester City, there were times he literally took the game by himself and just make those risky passes, right? Or maybe try to shoot or something. So sometimes I just feel he plays it a little bit too safe. And as a leader, as a captain, and where you find yourself today, sometimes these risks actually do come with rewards. So that's why I'm finding my frustration.
Yeah, the Odegaard discussion is actually funny to me because you know very well where I've been on the Odegaard discussion. As you were speaking, I was just looking at one of our internal memo chats. I think I was the earliest to this Odegaard story, right? I looked at a message I sent you in December of 2024, and I said Odegaard's passes cannot always be to his outside finding Saka. We need more in that position.
Yeah.
And what's actually funny about that message is I went back to check, like, what would I have seen on that day that frustrated me to the point of making that statement. That day we played, I think it was a Champions League game against Monaco, if I remember.
Yeah.
We won. It was relatively comfortable. We topped the group, I think, if I remember.
Yeah.
But we went through pretty easily. So it wasn't like there was a bad game. It was just like I think a scale fell off my eye that day that, oh my goodness, I'm noticing limitations in this guy's game. I've also said, you know, we don't have a Bruno in this team. We don't have a KDB or a Trent who can break those low blocks, who can make their range of passing is just ridiculous, right? And I'm seeing it even more evidently, right? You talk about control, and a lot of that is true about how Mikel sets up his team. But I think you hear these managers, even the best ones, even the ones that have desire for control, they'll tell you they just want to help get their team to the final third, and at which point you make the decisions.
Yeah.
There was a pass on, what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday? When did we play Chelsea? Yesterday. Yeah, there was a pass that he made to Timber. I don't remember if you remember that pass. He delayed that pass until Timber was no longer in a position where, I mean, Timber is a fullback, to be fair, but I think a one-time pass, you know, we've seen that multiple times, could really unlock a lot of the low blocks that we have to face.
Yeah.
So that's my issue with Odegaard. I think we've seen the best of Odegaard. Not that he's a bad player. I think he's a decent enough player. But the player you're asking for in terms of playing the pass over to Martinelli in the case of the Man City game and so on and so forth, I just don't think it's in Odegaard right now. I've also gone on record to say...
And that's a problem. That's the problem I have because he has it. If he didn't have it, that's different, right? He has it. That's what is frustrating me because I don't know if you can remember this game. You remember the second leg game at the Emirates, Arsenal FC Porto? The one we won on penalties when Trossard scored the first goal, I think early on in the first half.
Right.
They were putting a low block. He gets the ball and he just lets it go. Right? Go look at our game against Newcastle.
The Trossard goal was off the left, right?
Yes, like off the left.
Curler.
Yeah.
That was not a ball over the top.
No, it wasn't over the top, but he's done those over the top. I've seen him do those balls against with the likes of Havertz and everything. If he doesn't have it, that is a totally different conversation, right? But he has. That's why I said it frustrates me when I see him do it in Norway. But when it comes to Arsenal, it's different. Go watch the game against Newcastle again. That's this season. When Odegaard came into the pitch, he literally to me, he was the reason we won that game because he took those risky passes and everything, right? But a lot of the times it's like either where we're winning or we're in control, he's just very safe, right? Like he's just, and I'm just like, guys who play, I understand you're not in number 10, but guys that play your position, they are always willing to take that risk because there's a lot of rewards that come with it, right? When you look at the way he plays, he's a very fast thinker. He knows how to scan the pitch. But why he's just safe, that's what frustrates me because I know he has it. I have seen him do it so many times. If you doubt it, whenever you have a chance, just go look for clips on YouTube. This
Yeah,
you're
I
looking
actually
at the
would love to
ones.
see. Please
Yeah,
send
go
me a
look at
clip. Send
clips.
me
Go
a
look
YouTube
at
link.
clips when he's been at Arsenal, and you see when he's just fast paced and everything. Or even go look at that first season that we challenged for the title and the season after. He's very quick to let the ball go. He sees everything and boom, he's gone. I remember the game against, it just came to my head, and I remember the game against Liverpool. Was it last season? Who scored?
Martinelli.
No, the Saka goal, when he put the ball for Havertz. Havertz was one-on-one, but he missed it, and then Saka scored the rebound. I think it was last season.
Yeah,
Literally,
but
go
all
look
these
at it.
passes you're talking about are just balls on the ground.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't always have to be at the top. It's all about taking risks. When there are openings, put those balls through the channels. He hardly does that now. Like, the only one I can remember him doing this season, if I'm correct, was the one for Zubimendi against Aston Villa. I don't know if we've scored from
Yeah, but
something
again,
similar,
those
but
are
that one was
like
easy.
exactly. That's my
Exactly.
point. That's what
But
even with the Havertz and
I'm not even talking about the one. That's why I said go look at the highlights and you see. There are times he thinks, because I know if there's one thing about him, he knows how to scan the pitch and all that, right? Once he
he
gets
better.
those
That's
balls,
his job.
but now his game has just changed. And when I see him playing the European qualifiers or the Nations League for Norway, because every time Norway is playing, I actually watch their games, right? And I see him do this thing. So it's like, I'm not asking you to do something you don't know how to do. I will never ask you to do something you don't know how to do, right? It's just like when we're talking about Gyokores. I tell people he's not the hold-up play kind of striker. Why? Because I watched him for 2 years. He doesn't play like that. People might think because he's strong, he's bulky, the whole hold-up play thing is going to be strong. But no, that's not his. And I'm not going to be asking him for that, right? Same way, I'm not going to be asking for Jesus to give me 20 goals this season because I know he can't do it. So it's the same thing for Odegaard. He has these things in his lock. I have seen him execute it. But this season is even more frustrating because it's like, bro, just take those passes, man. Just put those balls down the channels, take the risks, be it over the defense, just take the risks that I know you can actually. If he couldn't do it, that's a different case.
We'll see. I mean, like you said, for the Gyokores segment, he's an Arsenal player. He's the captain. As you know, I call Declan Rice my own captain. But officially, Martin Odegaard is the captain for Arsenal, and we respect that for him. And if he does well, Arsenal does well. So I wish him all the best as captain of Arsenal. We're almost at time, so let's quickly move ahead to the weekend's games. Manchester will open up with a big one, and if we have time, we'll kind of get to the others. Manchester United actually opened up the weekend for us with the Manchester Derby that they're hosting at Old Trafford. What do you expect from that game? Michael Carrick's first game in charge.
I'm sure everybody expects the same thing. It's hard for me to see them lose this game. Again, it's Derby, form goes out the window, and then it's Manchester City. I will not be shocked if they get a win or a draw or something, but I'm expecting them to definitely come out strong or stronger than we have seen this season, right? I don't think the big games have been big problems for Manchester United, regardless of the manager, especially that of this one that they're going to have this weekend. So I'm not expecting Man City to go there and mash them up or anything. I mean, it's a big game for both sides. First game for Carrick, and is at Old Trafford, right?
Old Trafford, that's correct.
Yeah, it's at Old Trafford as well. So I think they're all going to be up for it. So yeah, I think Manchester United get something from this game.
Yeah, I think it's a win for Manchester United. That's what I have predicted as well. Because of some of the same things you've shared, I think it's going to be an emotional game. New manager. They've also got players coming back in Ahmad and
True.
Buemo. So
That's true.
that strengthens their position up front as well. And I think that is exactly the kind of team that can cause Manchester City problem.
Yeah,
Manchester City is
especially with
going
their
to have
defensive problem they have
they're
now.
going to have a lot of the ball. They're going to be on the front foot. They're going to have a lot of possession. But when the ball breaks, we just talked about a player in Odegaard that risk adjusted to not taking risk. Bruno is probably on the other side of that, right? So I think he's going to get them going, playing on the front foot. I expect a Manchester United result.
Yeah, I think they get something out of this game.
We'll move on to, I think, the other game here. Maybe before we get to Arsenal, Chelsea Brentford. That one is interesting to me. Chelsea are at home to Brentford, one of the most informed teams in the league, or at least the most informed player in Brentford. So, what do you expect from that game?
I think it's going to be very difficult for Chelsea. I don't know if Fofana plays this game because he played against us. Are they at
So
home?
he plays once a game.
Yeah,
Once,
they've been managing his
right,
games
right,
for
right.
a while. Are they at home?
They are home.
They're at home. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what to expect from this Chelsea team, so I think I would go with a bread. I'll go with a draw, maybe. I'll go with a draw. I don't know if the likes of Cole Palmer, Caicedo will be back. I don't know if James is back. I don't know if Gusto is back. But that's the thing. This Chelsea can be hot and they can be cold. But then again, Brentford are a very good team this year. They've surprised a lot of people, if not everybody, this season. So yeah, that one is
they
hard to
will be
call.
cold. They will be cold on Saturday. So I
Yeah.
think they are going to draw that game.
Yeah. I'll call a draw as well.
And finally, let's end with Forest at home to Arsenal.
Yeah, I definitely will be going with an Arsenal win. Forest haven't been the best since Sean Dyche took over. They also lost their FA Cup game to what was the name of that team again? The popular team, the one with the American owners. I think that's who they lost to.
I didn't even check for their
Yeah, but
results, to be
again,
honest.
he had a lot of rotations. So I think a lot of their players have had almost a week off before playing us. But it's been a tough ground for us since they came back to the Premier League. But I can see us going there and getting a win. So I'll be predicting an Arsenal. And we definitely do need to win, to be honest. Just especially in the situation where Manchester City drop points. We can't do what we did against Liverpool and drop more points. So we definitely have to win that game.
Well, you guys will be really hard pressed to hear me predict anything other than the win for Arsenal from now to the end of the season. so, so I'm not going to change my MO right now. I think Arsenal go there and win fairly comfortably at Forest. I think we're entering player roulette season at Arsenal now, where it's almost difficult to predict who starts.
Who starts here?
It almost seems like Mikel is alternating players per game. So if you start the previous game, if you're no Declan Rice or Zubimendi, you're probably not going to start the next. So we'll see if players like Noni come back into the fold for this particular game at Forest. But I think it's going to be an Arsenal win.
So let me throw one to you quickly just before we leave. We have Inter Milan right after Forest. How do you handle the rotation for those two games?
It depends. I think it depends on who you see play the Forest game. That's why I'm making the call out that I won't be surprised if Nani starts the.
No, I mean like if
For,
it was you, like what route would you go?
I think you want to finish the Champions League top of the league. I think you see. Are we at home for that game? Yeah, I think you're going to see some heavy hitters for that game for sure.
So
Because
that
we
means
have
you rest
almost.
a few of them this weekend then. Like you said, the likes of Noni
But
might
there's no
start
rest. It's
against.
just
Yeah,
exactly. It's like
rotation basically.
your
Yeah.
rotation. Yeah. So I think I would expect Noni to come in, play 65 minutes or so. If we're still chasing the game, then Saka comes in to finish up. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
That's what at least we've seen with some of the
Because after
other
Inter will play
decisions.
United.
Oh, we'll talk about that next week. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's
oh,
why I was asking
oh,
about like how do you do those rotations? Because it's like whoever you rest for the Forest game, most likely they get a lot of minutes in the Inter game, which means
right.
what are you going to do for Manchester United? Me, in my humble
Ah,
opinion, I think the team that started yesterday, I throw them back in again against Forest because I feel those 3 points are very important.
right.
Inter Milan, I would definitely rotate, have the likes of Noni and all those people come back
I'm
because
with you on that one,
yes,
actually.
every game is important, but even if I go there and if we even get a draw at Inter Milan, I'm fine because that tells me that
Right.
we're finishing top of the Champions League table, right? So, and I think the way we play, we can go out there and stink it out to get a point if we really do need to, because I know Inter definitely do have to win. And then Manchester United, you have the fresh legs again, because mind you, once Manchester United play City this week, they're all the way till the following week. So,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good call. We're
Yeah.
gonna wrap up here for the week, but it's always good catching up.
Great
Looking
catching
forward to
up,
the
bro.
games. I'm sure we'll be in touch through the weekend. And we'll be following the news together.
Definitely. Have a great week, my bro.
You too. All
All
right,
right,
man.
then.
Take
Yeah.
care.
You too.